Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining today. I'm Amy Peck. I am the Senior Director of Enterprise Content at HTC VIVE Studios. Today, we're going to talk about the opportunities in enterprise for both developers and enterprise companies. So at VIVE Studios, we are focused on sort of three primary areas: content and solutions, developers and ISVs. And something that I think a lot of people don't actually know is that we work directly with a lot of enterprise companies as well. And so within VIVE, we create first-party content, which I'll discuss in just a little bit. But we also co-produce content with our developer and ISV partners, and we help our enterprise customers with internal or external development. So if hardware is king, then content is queen. But really, ultimately, it's not about hardware or software. It's really about solutions. And so that's what I'm going to focus on the talk today, and how we're really looking at content and solutions and the evolution of VR for business applications. But I'd like to start off with a couple of slides from SuperData, a Nielsen company. They do a lot of market research and put out market reports on the state of XR. And so this first one I wanted to share is just sort of general spending on R&D and external development for VR. So last year, you can see we saw 6.6 billion, and that's increasing this year to 6.8 billion. Now, we're not seeing exponential growth with these numbers, but what we are seeing is a steady increase, which indicates that companies will continue to research, test, and then go to outside developers to build XR solutions. And then the next slide, we're going to look at enterprise use cases. So this is worldwide enterprise VR developers working in each of these specific verticals. And so you can see where there's the most activity for both supply and demand. And of course, not surprisingly, it's in education, which also encompasses training. And training is probably the #1 use case, but then you have healthcare, AEC, and retail, and you see all of the other verticals. But really, there are, there's plenty of opportunity in all of these verticals. And then how are companies using VR? Well, most companies are looking at some form of training and productivity across multiple departments, and then design and engineering, and then research and analysis. And so the reason these numbers don't add up to more than 100% is that companies are actually starting to expand across different business lines, which is a very good sign. So what we were seeing over the last several years is that a company might be using VR for training, or maybe the marketing department were building consumer experiences for their customer base, but there wasn't broad adoption across the other business units. But now we're starting to see that change, and where you might have 3 or 4 or 5 different business units working in VR. And so companies who have a strong, cohesive deployment strategy are going to start to see real economy of scale. And the 2 data points that I wanted to share is that enterprise software spend globally is projected to increase 4 times from where it is today by 2023. So this is a tremendous amount of growth. And so though we saw that slow and steady growth with R&D and external development on the last couple of slides, you're now seeing that the number of sort of fully baked software solutions are actually hitting the market. And this is where companies are now comfortably investing their resources. And then where are we seeing tremendous growth? Well, AEC and real estate, heavy industry, which also includes auto and aviation manufacturing, and then healthcare. So again, no shortage of opportunities here. So at VIVE, we're really focused, but first on use case and then on verticals. So we look at a horizontal approach to solution types, which really maximizes your market reach. So our 4 pillars are training, collaboration, design, and visualization. So let's start with training. So there are multiple different training types, as we know. So you have safety training, which may be aligned with OSHA standards. we have soft skills training, and we're going to start to see a lot of great leadership solutions, especially leadership in time of crisis. And then there are compliance and HR. So, and then specifically safety, soft skills, and compliance. This is training that almost all companies need. Then technical and process training, which tends to be more bespoke. Most companies build their own bespoke training modules that can't be leveraged by other companies, even in the same kind of business line. But as we start to see more modular training products come available, it's actually possible to do customization sort of on top of existing environments. And this can really minimize the amount of custom work and thereby reducing the cost to produce custom content. So there's several companies now also offering authoring tools so that enterprises who have internal dev teams and SMEs can actually just quickly iterate on training on their own. And then the last piece is upskilling, which, as we start to think about the changing workforce and automation, the need for employees to learn new skills or skills to even manage these new technologies, there's going to be continued consistent demand. So this is our first 3 training modules that we're releasing in partnership with Free Range XR. It's called Elevate XR. And so these first 3 modules are lockout, tagout, fall protection, and confined space. And this is going to be launching actually as a bundle preloaded on the VIVE Focus Plus. So you can just order the bundle and you start training. And so we focused on these 3, lockout, tagout, fall protection, and confined space, because they're on the top 10 list of OSHA's top 10 workplace safety hazards. But then we're going to expand these modules, but the value of just being able to have these 3 trainings, which a number of different utility companies can leverage today right off the shelf. And if need be, we can do customizations on top of that. So we're very excited about this, and you will be able to order these probably in the next 4 or 5 weeks or so. So if you're interested, feel free to reach out to us or check the website because more information on how and where to order this is going to be coming shortly. So our next pillar, collaboration, and this is very timely as I think we're all experiencing quite a bit of Zoom fatigue. So this is an area that's also being really looked at globally by companies as well as conference organizers, and looking at how they can leverage these virtual environments. So if you're building or buying a VR collaboration tool, a few things that you want to think about. Don't try to be all things to all people. Choose a use case or vertical, research the most important requirements, and then build that product very, very well. So it's a seamless user experience. So you focus on the market need, user requirements, and we're just beginning to understand the nuances of each business and how we can leverage 3D environments. But those advanced features will come once we have enough end users using VR collaboration tools. We just don't have those large data sets of users today. But once companies start to bring these collaboration tools in and we start to get a large pool of users, that data is going to be very valuable. And believe me, those users are going to tell us exactly what they need. And so this is why I really recommend thinking small in terms of functionality and think much bigger in terms of user experience, right? It seems somewhat counterintuitive, by narrowing scope and potentially addressable market. But if you are the very best tool for collaborative automotive design, for example, you will get traction, and then you can expand into other markets and feature sets from there. And then, of course, seems like it's stating the obvious, but I cannot stress this enough. Test, test, and test again with actual users. And this doesn't mean someone on your team and not someone in R&D or one of your kids. And again, it's something that sometimes does get overlooked, and be surprised at how little outside testing goes on with some products before they are released. And of course, you get bonus points if your testers actually have no experience in VR, because then you get the best insight into where you're succeeding, and then where you need to revisit. I know our inclination is to build the best and the most, feature-rich solutions, but these advanced features can wait. So just distill the requirements down and make a solution that just works. So I think that's a nice segue into our own product. So I don't know if any of you here were able to catch David Sapienza's webinar a couple of weeks ago. David is actually the head of VIVE Studios, and we have just released our sync collaboration software, which is now an open beta. It was in a closed beta for a number of months, but I've put the link there, sync.vive.com. Our team actually meets weekly in sync, and we had a nice little social happy hour last Friday for like an hour and a half, which was nice because none of us are going into the office. And so, for me, this is a great example of focusing on what's important, the utility and the user. I mean, it's a completely seamless experience. You set up your account, then you go to the landing page where you can create your first meeting. You go into your meeting. You can create your avatar either on the web or on your mobile device. And then you can upload, 2D and 3D files to cloud. We happen to use OneDrive, but Sync will, eventually support multiple cloud services. And then you can, have your 2D files magically projected on the screen. You can bring your 3D objects into the environment and you can scale them up or down. So it's really just everything you need to run effective meetings, and that's it. So again, if you are a developer, think about what the primary needs of your user and deliver on that. So our third pillar, design. And so we're seeing a lot of companies doing their product design, of course, building design with AEC, industrial design, automotive, manufacturing. And then we're also starting to see a lot of tools for rapid prototyping and workflow. So developers who've actually built their own workflows and toolkits are actually now starting to productize those and put those out on the market. So it can help other developers kind of, iterate much more quickly. So I'm going to show you 2 videos in a row, and I understand that sometimes these look a little bit choppy, so I apologize that in advance. But again, when these are released later on YouTube, we'll put the proper videos in there, so they'll be a little bit easier to view. But these are 2 of our partnerships, and how each of them are using VR for design, and they're going to go run sort of back to back.
FCX-1 is our first concept aircraft and a peek inside our innovation team's efforts. FCX-1 points the way for our future. A focus on innovative solutions and technologies. Being a pioneer in the aircraft industry is in our DNA.
virtual reality as a design tool was sort of an aha moment we had. What if we put it in a room and then put the engineer in the room with it and let him draw on the 3D model and use that to go to the next stage of development and make some of these real-time decisions?
This type of process is actually working really well because now we can sit in a 3D model. And so that allows us the real-time ability to say that's too far, or I don't have enough visibility through this part of the window, so we can drag lines and move things. And it's a dynamic shift and it happens on the fly.
We do VR design studies. It costs us a lot of money to mock up a part in real life. We'd rather just do lots of iterations on it inside VR and then decide where we want to go, then cut metal after that or cut tools after that.
We have a holistic experience now, and that helps us drive the designs forward and makes them come to life faster.
So I think those are two fantastic examples of, how two, different industries are using VR to increase productivity to the design iteration process, and then even look at ergonomics and the full design with teams remotely. So I have, we skipped over one slide there, sorry. So visualization, our last pillar. So of course, one of the primary use cases are real estate walkthroughs for both commercial and residential real estate. So I'm going to show you a video now of Toll Brothers. They have a new personalized design and visualization experience called Kitchen 360.
You feel like you want to touch the counter.
Do you?
Yeah,
Right. So
yeah.
you see a controller?
This is so cool.
So like if you look at the counter, turn around and look at the island. And if you kind of bend down and look at the countertop, bend down, you'll get closer. See?
Oh my word. Woo!
You see the controller?
Whoa! This is, I see what you mean.
So you watched this from outside. What's it like to be inside?
Different. Really much better. It gives you more of a feel of what exactly it's going to look like and what you like and what you don't like. Oh my gosh, it's so cool.
And,
Wow.
So I want to talk about something that we don't talk about a lot, which is that, the opportunity to actually build new product lines for companies to actually sell, right? So they're creating VR products to sell to their existing customers. So that can be in the form of training courses, wellness applications, behavioral health, physical therapy, data visualization. Financial institutions, of course, being able to would be a perfect market for this. And we're working with a couple of companies who have data visualization products, but then, leveraging the Z-axis and really being able to work with data. And again, these are products. These are going to be packaged up as products and sold to customers along with their existing products and services. So I have two more examples, again, of partnerships. The first one is Penumbra MBI, and the second is Raymond forklifts, and these will both run back to back as well also.
While virtual reality has been around for a long time, its application in rehabilitation of stroke and other neurological disorders is cutting edge and new concept. Here at Cooper University Healthcare, we are delighted that we have been chosen by Penumbra, the maker of this technology, to be the first center in the world to use this technology and to offer it to our patients to aid and augment their chances for recovery after stroke. The brain has great capacity to rewire, to form new connections. Our experts aid patients in executing these movements, and so the connections that are required for forming that movement are being rebuilt. So by stimulating certain areas of the brain, it helps the brain repair itself. There's no question that on the compliance side, I see great improvements just because this becomes a game that patients find joyful, and that leads to improved range of motions and all sorts of other factors that we know enhance recovery. As an academic medical center, Cooper University Healthcare is constantly adding new tools and therapies that aim to improve outcomes in the patients we treat. We are the first hospital in the world to use this technology. The real immersive system is, in my opinion, a potential huge breakthrough in recovery after stroke, and is yet another technology that we can offer our stroke patients in a patient-centered manner.
And this next one is Raymond forklifts.
Today's economy demands increased productivity and efficiency. Warehouse operations must run better and manage smarter. Lift truck operators must always be on the move. Evolving, adapting, and improving. Now, with the Raymond Virtual Reality Simulator, Raymond is the only lift truck manufacturer using VR learning with real trucks. Setup is easy. Simply select the Raymond lift truck from your fleet. Drive the truck up to the durable learning case. Plug into the S-port. Put on the VR goggles. And the learning begins. An immersive, effective experience with immediate feedback in a controlled virtual warehouse environment. And improved learning retention achieved through VR. The Raymond Virtual Reality Simulator. Raymond. Run better, manage smarter.
So 2 excellent examples. Both of those products are available and being sold today. But I'd like to shift gears now and kind of move into sort of the strategy component of this and how your developer, how you can help your customers start to think about how they're going to deploy, and then with your company, really what the strategy is to be able to successfully move your experiences from business line to business line. So you saw, the automotive design tool. We worked with another company who was also designing in VR. And those assets were also then used to create their training, because these particular cars are all hand built on this sort of long manufacturing line. And then those same assets were used for an AR remote technical assistance on the assembly. So you have, newer trainees on the floor. You can't have someone walk away or stop, or the line comes to a screeching halt. They have to pull a certain number of cars off that line every day. So any stall is hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so the next stage, able to use some of those assets in their marketing materials and collateral. And then finally, again, they built a car configurator on the floor of the dealership where customers can design the car of their dreams. But that came from that first design that they actually built in VR. Now, none of these are sort of a seamless sort of slam dunk into these other experiences, but we're starting to see more and more tools and plugins and workflows that and optimization tools that allow us to move these 3D assets, experiences, and environments from one to another. So again, building this economy of scale. And then another example is a commercial builder. There's a large commercial project up on the Hudson in Westchester County, New York. It was an old factory, and it was up for bids by several commercial builders. And so the company who actually won the contract started off by just creating a walkthrough, really just to get the town residents and the local government on board to win the bid. And so once that approval was final, of course, they built the designs, but then they were able to use those assets for sales materials. And so they built interior options, and they were able to pre-sell before they even broke ground, right? And so you look at the design assets, and then CAD models, Revit models get imported for contractors and inspectors, financial partners, government, all the stakeholders. And then the last piece is then once that BIM data in the building is fully completed, the BIM data gets updated, and that can be used for maintenance and repairs, right? Instead of you can visualize and know exactly where the HVAC system is and where the weight-bearing walls are. So it's, again, sort of thinking in a holistic way about leveraging this data and how it can be leveraged for different use cases. And so this is sort of the gold standard, and there's companies that are working on this, but there isn't a tool that exists today. So most companies and developers are sort of using their own mechanisms for this, but at some point it's going to start to become unwieldy as we really move into these 3D environments, and 3D assets become more and more ubiquitous. we're going to need a really strong 3D digital asset management system. So if you aren't using one today, you're going to have to build it or cobble it together from some of the tools that are available on the market. But again, it's that centralized library, and then being able to use assets, interactions, environments across multiple business lines. And this is for developers as well as enterprises. Enterprises, it's critical. For developers, it's sort of part of your workflow anyway. I mean, you're used to working with large numbers of digital assets. But again, this system has to enable reuse of these digital assets, and really, again, it gets you to that economy of scale that we just talked about. So how do we work with developers? So we don't have a specific programmatic program where we're working with developers in a scheduled way, but we encourage you to reach out. We didn't get to see you at GDC this year, which is why we're doing these webinars. But these are some of the ways that we can work with you. So if you have a contact at HTC, or if you don't, please reach out. But we do offer early preferred access to hardware, SDK, and tools. We can do co-marketing and PR if you have a great use case. You saw that one is with one of our partners, ISV partners, Sector 5 Digital, with Bell Helicopter. And we can offer, of course, technical support. We can even offer go-to-market planning. So if you have a product you're working with one of your enterprises, we can help you on go-to-market and do introductions to our channel partners, VARs and LARs, so you can get that product out there. And of course, we also work with a lot of our ISV and developer partners early on in projects directly with their customers to help them really look at scale and strategy. Because sometimes it's not just about getting that job, it's really looking at the needs of the company, looking at what their legacy systems are, looking at what their data analytics requirements are, what does their LMS system look like, and making sure that what you're building for them not only can integrate, but can scale. And then how do we work with enterprise? We can make product recommendations and ISV and custom development referrals. We work with the top developers in the world. We can help with project scope and, again, integration strategies. And we can help you develop a product like you saw with Penumbra, the MBI, and Raymond. And again, also co-marketing and PR, there's case studies and white papers, also technical support, and of course, ecosystem partner referrals. So we work with all the telcos, we work with all the cloud providers. So we can help. We're here to help. We're happy to. You can also find me. I'm not going to put my email up here because this is going to go on YouTube, but I'm pretty easy to find on LinkedIn. If you have questions and I can help steer you in the right direction, please do reach out. Thanks so much. So if you have any questions, we get this presentation as a PDF. It'll actually be, I'll have to see with our team if we can do that. I think we may be able to, but this will be posted on our YouTube channel in the next probably 2 or 3 days. Let's see, training use of Interactive 360. Are we interested in that? Yeah, reach out. Anything that's related to your products or services, please just reach out to us directly. But if you have any sort of general questions on strategy or what the opportunities are, or, verticals, anything like that, feel free to ask them here. I'll give us a couple more minutes. How does VIVE help small VR startups, small businesses? We really, it's sort of a stepped program. If you're just starting out, we can certainly just offer advice. We have a lot of great documentation. If you really get stuck, we can help with technical support. But where I think we're most valuable is when you are working with a customer and those first clients and really helping you scope and scale. Responding, how are we responding to accessibility issues? Well, that's more, I'm assuming you're talking about that on the software side, but I don't know if you mean software and hardware. With our VR solutions, we work with a number of, like, for example, with education, we work with a number of different special needs factions to build solutions that address that. For us directly, we are, because we're building sort of one product at a time and we're working with partners, we do rely on our developer partners to help us identify how we can best suit different accessibility needs. And I hope that answers your question. Let me see, got one more from Neil Singh. Hi, Neil Singh. How long did it take from design? Oh, so we've got a question from Ali Merchant. How long did it take from design, training, sales, and marketing for the automotive example? What is the effort required? With the automotive example, yeah. So we started with the design. So that was actually a relatively long process, mainly because they were looking at different types of software. So it was sort of a build or buy scenario, and we found a great company who was also in the same country in Europe who had this amazing design tool. So once that design tool was adopted, then moving from the training, sales, and marketing was probably over the next, I would say, 18 months to 2 years. But the first thing we did was identify that those assets could be used for training. And then concurrently, we had introduced them to a company who specializes in AR, remote technical assistance. So, on the studios team, again, because we're focused on content, I mean, obviously we want to sell our hardware. We believe our hardware is the best, but if it's an AR solution that a company needs, we can still help them get that solution built and recommend products that are out there, and then refer them on to companies that can solve that. Because we are going to start to see this sort of movement from, VR to AR and back again in the enterprise. Any applications products providing pass-through AR within the VR environments yet? We're starting to see a little bit of that. You probably see it a little bit on your headsets and things when you're drawing your boundaries, your Guardian boundaries. And the use cases are coming up more and more. But it's still not the best user experience. So in the workplace, we're not seeing a lot of it, but a lot of our developers are working on some pretty interesting solutions that I can't share right now, but there's a lot of great experimentation going on. Someone's saying, would any white paper case studies be available for application of VR and data analysis, specifically the financial sector? Not the one that comes to the top of mind, but there is a lot of research going on in that arena. And I am actually myself working with a company on this data visualization tool for financial services. And again, I can't, that's a very early stage project, but so I can't share much about that, but please do reach out. And in the meantime, I can do some research and see if I can find something for you. I use VR, gotta be seen in the future. Let's say I use VR to create animations for children. I call it VR puppetry. Have you seen any future for the world of animation or filmmaking with VIVE? Well, certainly, being able to see these beautiful cinematic masterpieces in VR is fantastic. We are not doing as much on the cinematic content because there's so many great creators both in Hollywood and Europe and globally. But I do see a market for it. But again, that's a consumer adoption piece. So as that user base starts to grow, I think we'll see a lot more of this, animation and film in virtual environments. But actually, on our VivePort, we have a lot of great cinematic VR as well as a whole series of 360 videos. So I urge you to take a look there and subscribe to Infinity. We have to always plug that because it's such an amazing value. All right, I think that might be it on the questions. Thank you again for joining, and please find me on LinkedIn if there's anything you didn't get to ask today, and I will do everything I can to help. Have a great day.